You are watching Co-op for Two. It's Tuesday, August 27th, 2024. We're broadcasting live from Champaign, Illinois. There was no stream scheduled for tonight, but about a half hour ago, I thought, I'm very curious to try another one of these Undo games. And so I've scheduled this live stream with very short notice. Looks like 5 or 6 people have turned up. I'm happy to have the company. Let's see if there's anything to discuss before we get started here. On Thursday, we'll be playing the final mission from War Story. That'll probably take us a good 6 hours or so. Dave Neal just messaged me and sent me a couple of errata for it. If you haven't seen the first 2 missions, you need to watch those before you can join us for the third, but I wouldn't blame you for skipping the whole playthrough and getting the game for yourself. So far, it's been a pretty special experience. Okay, and then if you're local to Champaign and interested in board game design, tomorrow on Wednesday, August 28th, Kudo Plays, which is the local board game design competition here in Champaign, is having their kickoff at the Champaign Library. Tomorrow, I will be there. Basically, Kudo Plays runs in year-long seasons, so tomorrow will be the kickoff for the 11th season. If you're interested in designing a board game, that's the place to go. Okay, so D says, are these games available at Amazon? The Undo games are available quite widely. There are some in Amazon. I just picked up a couple on eBay, but you can get them at most of the board game online retailers for about $12 each. So a couple days ago, we played Undo Forbidden Knowledge. It was the first Undo game I've played, set in a supernatural H.P. Lovecraft type world. And I quite enjoyed it, even though it's very simplistic mechanically. And as was pointed out in the comments of that playthrough, I call this a choose your own adventure, but really it might be better classified as a choose your own quiz. You're not really making branching choices. You're trying to save someone from dying by changing their past. And mechanically, it could not be simpler. Well, maybe I shouldn't say it that way. What I mean is, you don't really have branching story. It's just there is one story, and you're trying to change the decisions you make, but mechanically, score-wise, it's very simplistic, primitive even in a way, but there's something about the way the story is told, being able to jump around, that made it an enjoyable process, very quick. But there's something about how at least our first playthrough unfolded that was enjoyable, and it got me thinking maybe we need to revisit some time travel games. So I thought we'd play the second Undo, not set in a supernatural world, and see if the enjoyment is still there. I also ordered, you can see behind me here, Cavendish, which is the latest in the new Time Stories Revolution series, which also involves time travel. And I wasn't a huge fan of the original Time Stories, but it looks like their new boxes are much more meant to be standalone, small, card-based mysteries like this one, but a little more involved, I think. All right, so let us open this up, and we'll see. Probably take us an hour or two, maybe 2 hours. Let's see if this Undo is worse, not as enjoyable as our supernatural version. Presumably the rules will be very similar. A little advertisement. Okay, so same basic structure, a large story deck and a small set of cards. I don't know if we have different card counts for the different games. This feels like a thinner story deck than our other one, but I guess we'll find out. How is everyone doing here? We've got, well, we're up to 10 viewers now. It's all right for these unannounced streams to have no viewers. I remember the old days when I was live streaming to no one. It's not so bad. All right, so no rule book, which I don't love. I mean, even the games that I like the way these modern games now tend to teach you as you go. I just still think you'd have a reference guide. Okay, so let's see if we can put this way. Okay, so same setup. We're allowed to travel back in time, alter brief moments. The next mission your team must solve leads you into the icy mountain world of the Himalayas. Unlike other Undo cases, this time it's about a whole group of deceased people whose tragic deaths you must prevent. One of my favorite books of all time is Into Thin Air, about a famous season of climbing Everest where there was a huge storm and many people were killed. And if you haven't read Into Thin Air, do yourself a favor, go check it out. It's an amazing book. True story. Who is the author of Into Thin Air? I can't remember the author's name now. Famous writer of such, wrote a couple books, none as good as Into Thin Air. What was the name of the author of Into Thin Air? Drawing a blank. One of my favorite books. Really amazing, like jaw-dropping to hear about this true life stuff. A little bit of controversy around the book as well, because a couple people survived, and a little bit of accusations of embellishing. Jon Krakauer. Yeah, Jon Krakauer, thank you. Okay. Rules cards, story cards, solution cards, time cards, magnifier cards. So those are the same things we had before, but we didn't have character cards before. Okay. So Follow the instructions on the rule cards. All right, fine. Okay, so we take the large cards. 3 rules cards we put aside. Fine. Then we lay out our story cards in order. Okay, so a completely different look to the cards. And then I remember we want to lay these out so that we can put cards above and below them. They are in order. Okay. Okay, those are our 13 story cards. Remaining large cards, which are solution cards. Okay, we just read those when we're done. That's it for the large cards. Okay. Now turn over story card 13 with the 2 flames. To begin the story and learn about the circumstances of death. So in the previous game, this was we started here. One of the cards has light, so we started here, and then there was an epilogue here. We start at the very end. All right, so it says turn over that card and read it. Okay, so here's how things went wrong. Goa, India, epilogue, May 22nd, 1972 in the afternoon. Nervously, a person skims over yesterday's news article. International expedition disaster in the Himalayas. All 7 members of a mountaineering group are believed to have died during a summit ascent in the Himalayan mountains. Included were citizens from England and the USA. The disparate group had left... The person gazes out the train's window, deep in thought. Was this finally the end of days of flight? At the station, a colorfully dressed figure greets the individual. Welcome to Palolem Beach. I'm Jamie. I'm Alex, the person replies and smiles, because they've always liked that name. Okay, that's a very strange epilogue. It sounds like we've got So when I read this, was this finally the end of days of flight? That was weird. They're talking about the days of flight, airplanes and stuff, but look what's happened. The person who's narrating is reading about the expedition crash. Deep in thought, they arrive at this place and they say, I'm Alex. And they say that because they've always liked that name. So I think what we've got is someone on the run here. Someone in hiding who's narrating this story and has survived and has maybe is part of the cause of this disaster. One of our survivors looks like they are under a different identity. That's how I read it. Okay, and then we continue here to story card 4. Take the small deck of cards, the 9 time cards. Okay, so 9 cards. We're going to get to read 9 stories. 4 magnifiers. These are going to be clues we're allowed to read. 7 person cards with the black mourning border next to each other in a row. Okay, so this is a new thing. We did not have these cards in our previous Undo playthrough. So I guess we're going to keep track of these people and try to keep them from getting killed. That's what it sounds like. Keep these out here on the table. Okay. And then these are going to be for when we make our choices. There's some other cards too. What are these other cards? The Fate cards deck goes there. The 13, oh, these are the clue cards, okay. 13 clue cards all match up with something. Okay. Those go under each location. So if you watched our playthrough, this is all familiar. Each location card, and that's the stop card. Each story card is associated with a specific time and location, and each of them have a clue. We have 9 time cards. We'll be only able to read 9 of the 13 story cards. And we have only 4 of these magnifier cards. So we'll only be able to read 4 clues associated with a place. And it has to be a clue of a place we've gone to. Okay, and then it says that we're allowed to look at the clue for card 13. Maybe this is going to tell us about this person is on the run. The person is amazed. They are now considered dead, and relief washes over them. This changes things. Okay, so indeed we were right. This person narrating, everyone thinks they're dead, and now they can stop being on the run. Okay, we did that. Now we're proceeding through the rules. After reading the story card carefully, discuss which of the options you wish to choose. Take time. Sorry, you'll play as a team going clockwise order. You decide where to go. Read that story card. Spend a time card to do that. Discard the first time card for your first time travel now. Then choose the story card, turn it over, and read it. So I think maybe I played it, when we played it the first time, I think I spent a card, a time card for the story 13. It looks like, I'm not sure if this is different or if I turned one over by accident. But it is telling us we can turn over a card now, turn in a time card. I'll just put this up there. In order to pick a place to go. All right, but we got to discuss it, so I'm not going to do it yet, but it's telling us how to play. Discard a time card, pick a place, a time, read it. It'll have a decision. Before you're making decision, continue reading R6. Okay. You read the story card, you decide which option to take. But you can also spend a magnifying card to read a clue. You only have 4 of them, and you can only do 1 per turn. You turn over the clue card that belongs to the story card. You may choose a clue for either your current place or one that you've done earlier. Fine. You pick an option. You take the fate card from here. That corresponds to A, B, or C. You'll now find out if you change the story for the better. It'll be a minus or a plus. If it's a 0, actually it doesn't say it this time. This time it says a little differently. But you might expect that this time it's going to be about each decision saving 1 person. Okay. Throw out the other one, then you continue on. Then you read the solution. And then you see how you do. Okay. All right, we are ready to get started here. So in the way things really unfolded, we had a survivor who people thought they were dead and now they can stop running. The person called themselves Alex, but that's not their real name. And what happened here? So all 7 members are believed to have died. Okay, so this person calling themselves Alex is one of the 7. So if you look here, they're the 7. One of them actually survived and was on the run. So maybe we don't care about that person surviving, but we'd like to get the rest of them saved. It looks like they start out unhappy. We can turn them. They start out dead. We can turn them to save them. Okay, and it's got their age on the front. All right, so they're all presumed dead. One of them is actually alive. We're going to try to change their fate. Sorry to keep doing this here. I just want to see what the conditions were. There's a disaster. Doesn't say what the disaster was. During a summit, citizens from England and the USA. All right, let's take a look at what we got here. So May 22nd was the person going home after the expedition failed. Then we've got 7 days ago on the rock face, 8 days ago in a crevasse, 9 days ago at a peak in Nepal, 14 days ago at a mountain ridge, 21 days ago in a farmhouse in Nepal. Look, it's got the altitudes too. So actually, if you look at the altitudes, I want you to notice something. 7 days before the disaster, they're at 14,000 feet on the rock face. 8 days ago, 17,000 feet. 9 days ago, they summited at 20,000. So like in real life, it's easier to get up. You get killed coming down. You've spent everything you have and you get killed on the way down. So it looks like they got killed on the way down. They successfully summited 9 days ago. Then we've got 14 days ago, a mountain ridge, farmhouse, 21 days ago. 23 days ago, they're in a bivouac. 24 days ago, they're at a waterfall at 10,000 feet. 25 days ago, a village, a mountain village. 29 days ago, or 28 days ago, they're in Kathmandu. 30 days ago, they're in an airplane over Nepal. So here they are arriving in Nepal, or at least some of them. 7 years ago, on the outskirts of Jakarta, Indonesia. And then 24 years ago, Houston, Texas. Okay, so origin of our story starts 24 years ago in Houston, Texas in some form. And then most of our events are from 30 days ago up to 7 days ago. Then there's a big gap. I guess this might be where they actually died. And then this person is leaving town a week later. So for all we know, this is the event where they all died. However, they peaked on 9 days. So you could imagine that multiple of them died here and here. Now, our last experience playing, it felt like it was hard to make decisions, but that was okay. I sort of accepted that this was a game where some of your decisions aren't going to be based on that much. But I did feel like we were learning a little bit about the way the system thinks about things. In our previous playthrough, we saved the decisions right before the deaths to be last, when we had gathered as much knowledge as possible. Let's check in with the chat, see how everyone's doing. Any thoughts here about... So what I enjoyed about the game last time was just the storytelling. So I suggest we don't try to sort of meta game it too much and just try to enjoy the story. But maybe we could look at these clues as well to help make our decision. Got wife, photos, stunned, notebook, spirits, caterpillar fungus, containers, fin, well-heeled, destiny, blonde, chasm. Now, these cards have names on the back and ages. Do you suppose we're allowed to look at them, to look at their names? Lay out the 7-person cards with the black mourning border next to each other in a row without looking at their back. Okay, doesn't want us to know their names. Fine. Okay, well, I liked from a story standpoint starting all the way back at the first card as our sort of origin. So let's do that. So I'm going to take a time card. I'm going to put it up here for now. It doesn't say that's what you should do, but maybe that'll help me remember to pay for cards. All right, let's read this card. 24 years ago, Houston, Texas. July 4th in the evening. She should actually be happy. Her generous boss is giving one of his charming speeches in the midst of his business partners who laugh cordially at each of his jokes. She quickly pushes aside the short, disturbing thought that these cheerful men make their living selling weapons and takes a photo. Her boss comes up to her with a glass of champagne to toast the holidays. She whispers, "The two of us also have something nice to celebrate, my champion. We're having a..." Petrified look quickly passes over his face, and then with a smile he says, "We shouldn't let our streak of success be spoiled by feeling." You ensure that A, she persuades him to choose the child and not his wife, B, accepts his money for an abortion, or C, leaves him and gives birth to the child. Okay, so they're having some discussion. Two of us have something nice to celebrate. We're having I guess she's going to say we're having a baby. Then he gets petrified, and he says, "We shouldn't let our streak of success be spoiled by feelings." It's weapons dealers. She's having an affair with her boss. We don't know. So this is 24 years ago. So let's think about it logically. If the baby is one of the people that went on the expedition, it would be a 24-year-old. It looks like it might be this person. If that's the story. But now, one of the weird things about this game is that, like, if we choose for her to have an abortion, so the baby never gets born, is that good for him? He'll never have been born. That doesn't seem like a way to solve the problem. The game's a little ambiguous about that. It is a weird choice here for this card to be about letting you tell someone to have an abortion. But this game's a little ambiguous about what constitutes success. Like, if someone was never born, have you kept them from dying, or is it a fate worse than death because they were never born? But I guess we get to make our own rules here. Now, what's this answer? Persuades him to choose the child and not his wife. Oh, I see. Okay. So the woman who's having an affair with her boss got pregnant from him. And he's like, "Don't spoil this affair we're having, have an abortion." So she can either have the boss go divorce his wife and go with her, or have the abortion. Actually, it's not have the abortion. That's not our choice. We can just accept the money for the abortion. It doesn't say we have to have it. Or we could have her go off on her own. It doesn't seem like he wants her out of his life. We shouldn't let our streak of success be spoiled by feelings. I don't even know what that means. He's scared. Okay, I'm gonna invent our own story and say he's in an unhappy marriage. So, but he's a weapons dealer, huh? Maybe this is not the person you want in your life. Okay, let's have her go off on her own, see. I'm not sure how any of these can really help us. Oh, I guess before we make that decision, we could look at information about the wife. We just have so few clues to look at. I'm just going to have her leave him. Okay, so this is card 1. So we get card C. We've chosen card C. So 1A and B leave the game. And now let's see what happens here. With the birth of her child, her life takes a turn. She never becomes a wildlife photographer who takes part in this climbing expedition. Turn person E to the saved side. If you've already saved them, take back 1 discarded time card. Okay, interesting mechanic. So in the other undo we played, we got scores. Here we're actually saving 1 person at a time. Okay, so this person was apparently the wildlife photographer on this expedition, but we've changed her life. Sounds like maybe she had an abortion in the what happened previously. Okay, person E, we've saved. Okay, so I was wrong. It wasn't a baby born that day. It was the woman, Amanda. Okay, so we've saved Amanda, the wildlife photographer. And we didn't have to use a clue. That's good. I wonder, that sounds like one of the ways you can save people is not having them not go in this expedition at all. Seems like the one part of this game that if you could do, you would. It's all about the order you go places, because you have to make your choices with the information you've already gotten. So you could ask, now that we've gotten this information, is there any place that we are now informed enough to go to? But I don't think we are. Just go in this order. We don't know how things went wrong, so it's hard to know what decisions to change. Although 7 years ago, it feels like you just stop people from going on expeditions, but we don't even know who's on the expedition. 28, 25, 24, 30. There's our actual expedition. Let's go here to Kathmandu. No, let's go to... I want to see the group. I want to see the group so I know who we're dealing with. All right, let's go to the bivouac then. I'd like to see everyone who's involved here so I know how to stop, who to stop from joining. Okay, so here we are at a bivouac. This is on the way up, late in the evening, 23 days ago. April 29, 1972, late in the evening. The Chinese woman is curled up in her sleeping bag, trembling and sweating heavily. The shadows that flash by on the tent frighten her. Her hippie tent mate hasn't returned, still hasn't returned. Nearby, she clearly hears their moaning. She's clearly getting worse, and her will to survive prompts her to act. With clammy hands and a stuffy nose, she searches for the container with the medical herb she gathered that morning. But her eyesight is so bad she can't find it. If she'd only listened to Theo. Without help, that decision appears to be life-threatening. Suddenly, the tent opens. You ensure that A, the tent was only opened by a strong gust of wind. B, she licks the containers. C, her tent mate comes in and helps her find the herb she needs. So that could be this woman here, or this woman that we're dealing with. If only she had listened to Theo. Without help, that decision appears to be life-threatening. She searches for the container with the medical herb she gathered that morning. We do have a clue here, a container clue. We could spend one of our 4 to look at it. So in real life, it feels like it was probably just the wind that opened the tent and nothing got resolved. But why wouldn't we want C? She's sick. Her tent mate is away. Why would we not want C, which seems to be telling us it's helpful? Comes in and helps her find the herb she needs. Unless we think this person is a bad person, why would we not? Seems like B could be some clever solution, like the containers have the different tastes on them. But C just feels like it's telling us it's gonna solve it. It does sound like we know, though, when we get a choice to have her listen to Theo, we could have her do that. Who's she hearing nearby? I think she's hearing people have sex or something. All right, let's look at the clue for containers. So I'm going to spend a clue to look and read this. After each find, the woman labeled the identically colored plastic container in waterproof ink. However, she had to use regular ink on the last container this morning. So if she licks it, she'll see which container was the last one. Sounds like we should infer that that's going to be useful to us. Her eyesight is so bad she can't find it, so she can't read it. If she licks it, she'll be able to find the last one, which we're just going to assume helps her. This is so strange. Now that we've spent the clue for this, I'm tempted to use it, but it feels like C would be better. All right, I'm going to choose B. I'm not sure why I'm not choosing C. 7B. I'm going to have her find the last one. The last container, which I assume is the useful one, unless that's a trick. This is where we're going to learn a little bit about the game. Okay, so I've chosen B. As a biologist, she knows that ink tastes sour. By this means, she identifies her life-saving container. The medicinal herb settles her into a deep, restful sleep. Turn person C to the safe side. Okay. She knows ink tastes sour, but our clue said they're all labeled, some in waterproof ink. So I guess when she licked it, she found the last one. Boy, that's weird. All right. Well, we did save her. I don't really get why. But now we could try to back up and save her again by having her listen to Theo. So this is 23 days ago. If we save her again, we get one of our time cards back, which I didn't pay for. There we go. This system is good. Caterpillar fungus. That sounds like what she got sick on. So I'm going to go back up to this. Let's see if we can be smart about this. In the morning. The disparate group leads their mules over the thin blanket of snow and passes an icy waterfall that falls into the depth. You're the only one refusing to wear your snow goggles, the European mountain guide says reproachfully to the Asian woman as he shakes his head. Yes, ultimately my purpose here is to keep my eyes open, she replies, out of breath while concentrating on the glistening snow. Her career and family's well-being depends on it. Okay, so this is going to be Theo talking to our girl that we just saved. So we were right about that. He's a European mountain guide who's advising her. And this is also going to be Theo based on the card we read before. She says if she'd only listened to Theo's advice. So the European mountain guide, do you think that's this guy or this guy? Okay, now. Do we want her to find a poisonous herb? No. Do we want her to find snow leopard's tracks? No. Do we want her to notice an old woman dealing up a caterpillar fungus? Okay, so this is the thing where she was saying if only she had listened to Theo, but you don't get to make that change. Do we want her to notice a snow leopard? That doesn't sound like something that's going to help her survive. We've already saved her. Is a caterpillar fungus going to help her Surely a poisonous herb is not going to help her. Unless she has to kill someone. Why is a caterpillar fungus? Why would that be helpful for us? Is that the... That's not the herb that saved her. So what is it? All right, well, why would an old woman be digging up caterpillar fungus if not like some ancient ritual that's going to be helpful? So I'm going to say B. But we could look at the clue of the caterpillar fungus, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to use up all our clues. So instead, I'm going to just assume that that caterpillar fungus might be helpful. Okay, so we take our 6s. And I'm going to have her observe the caterpillar fungus. Leanne is so impressed with the old woman's knowledge, she leaves the group to stay and document it. Okay, so this is a different way we could save her. It says turn her to saved, but if she's already saved, then we get back a time clock, which is what the whole point of this was, to save her twice. So actually that's good for us. All right, so far we're I don't know how we're doing it, but we're trying to use logic. All right, and then we should somehow remember that this card, I'll just put something under it that we did pay for this card. All right, so that's her saved, and we learned about some of the names of a couple people. The caterpillar fungus just preoccupied her, so she didn't stay with the group when they got in trouble. So it looks like some of the people were saving by just having them not go to the peak. Let's go to Jakarta so we can look at these photos, memory. On the outskirts of Jakarta. 7 years ago. That's a long time. The woman in her 40s crouches next to her unknown colleague in a rice field. Shots ring out around them. Suddenly, a dark red stain grows on his vest. With a face contorted with pain, he presses his camera into her hands and groans, "Show the world my photos and the terrible things that are happening here." He moans softly and says, "My name is Connor McMullen." Then he closes his eyes. So she can take the camera and flee. She can try to save him, or she can leave without his camera to complete her own mission in safety. Woman in her 40s, 7 years ago. I think this sounds like another way to save Amanda, if that is, in fact, one of our people, which it sounds like it is. And Connor McMullen is the photographer who's been shot. Now, whether he's in our group here or not, I don't know. But how does this game work? Like, can it be that if this is what happened, oh, we don't know what she did, though. So she could save him. It might have been that in the real timeline, she saved him, and then he came on the expedition, and he's one of these people. Or she didn't save him, and we can now save him. But if she didn't save him in the real timeline and we save him, We haven't saved anyone from the expedition. She can leave without his camera. That sounds like not a very nice thing to do. Dark red stain on his vest. Sounds like he's dead, and you're not going to be able to save him. Okay, let's take the camera and flee, and then maybe she'll become a famous photojournalist. Isn't that our... Didn't we already save the photojournalist person? We saved the wildlife photographer. So I think this is going to be another way to save the blonde Amanda. If she, instead of saving him, she flees with her camera, then she'll be a... Hold on. What did she grow up to be? She never becomes a wildlife photographer who takes part in this climbing expedition. So I wonder if we can give her a career in political photography, then she won't have come up here. All right, I'm going to give her a career in war photography, but then she could get killed. I'm going to choose A, though. 2A. I think I'm going to try to give her a new career and save her in a different way. Okay. The woman flees. A year later, she received the prestigious photo award for a photo series of the massacre in Indonesia, published under her own name. All right, well, that was the wrong thing to do. Our reasoning was right, but we didn't change her course of history. And then I have to pay for that. All right, it was Amanda, though, I think. So we still have quite a few, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more to go. And this is going to save them on their way out. That's the peak. What's for the fun? The guy may have died, but I don't think that guy that just died has anything to do with our story. That was many years ago. All right, let's try going right to the peak. Let's see what happens at the peak. May 13th in the morning, 20,000 feet. Let me pay for that. Okay, upon reaching the sunny peak, the little man doesn't share the joy when the others cheer the successful ascent. He mourns the dead and struggles with his destiny. His will to live has been severely compromised during this expedition. He kneels in front of a pile of stones. Colorful flags flutter in the wind. He despairingly considers the pitiful remains of his expedition and wonders why those entrusted to him must always die. He prays for a sign to prevent him from doing what he knows he must do. Okay, so he's a small man. Why must the people he lead always die? Okay, so I think what we've got here is we have a Sherpa, a native to the Himalayas, who's leading people, and already a bunch have died. So he's not going to be Virgin Mary. He's not going to be Christian. A sign, he prays for a sign to prevent him from doing what he knows he must do. His will to live has been compromised. His will to live has been compromised. They're all happy about the ascent, But people have already died on this trip, so keep that in mind. So we could go backwards to try to save those people. He's kneeling in front of the stones. There's not many of the expedition left. He wants a sign. So is the sign going to be the image of a lotus? They're at the peak. They have to go down now. We just want to give him some will to survive. What's going to give him more will? An image of a lotus in the clouds, or the footprints of the snow leopard, where maybe they can hide in the snow leopard cave? Doesn't seem like a particularly safe place to hide. They're at the peak. They're at the peak. They don't need footprints. What is the meaning of a lotus to a Buddhist? Can someone look that up? Maybe we'll take a break here. Let's take our first break here. We'll come back and decide if a lotus has some meaning to this guy. I don't see how showing him leopard footprints at the peak is going to inspire his... That's not going to increase his will to survive, right? That's going to be like, oh, great. Now, in addition to getting back down, we've got snow leopards to deal with. So that's not going to increase his will. Isara says that the lotus is a sacred symbol for purity, rebirth, and strength. Okay, let's just do that right now then. Let's have him see the lotus in the clouds. So A, 10A. We could use our clue, but we're going to try to save it. Feels like the lotus is the thing we want here. Okay, so we're going to let him see the lotus. In Buddhism, the lotus is a sign of enlightenment because it rises from the mud to form a pure blossom. Turn person D to the save side. If you've already saved them, get a time card. Okay, so we were right. It is the Sherpa. We've just saved his life by inspiring to come down. We've already saved almost half of our group. It feels like we are doing quite well here. And we've only used one clue. All right, now it's time for us to take a break. I'll see you in 8 minutes. We're back. I still don't feel like I have a handle on the logic of how to fix things in this undo world. However, I'm starting to think that maybe it makes sense to go backwards, like learn how they died, and then maybe you can make some decision that leaves them not getting here. However, we do know that people died before they reached the summit. But I'm most curious about how they actually died. So that was at the peak. Let's start from one before it ended here. They're at a rock face 7 days ago. This is the last card before the guy is escaping on the plane, who calls himself Alex. Who is that gonna be? Who's gonna be the person that called themselves Alex? Maybe it's this guy, but it could be a woman as well. These two look kind of similar. All right, let's see what happened at the rock face. I'm so stupid. Making our way down by the full moon was your stupid idea. Now it's cloudy and it's pitch dark. The hysterical woman berates her exhausted friend. He huddles next to her on the narrow ledge above a chasm. We have to report to the police as soon as possible. If someone finds the body, we'll be done, he whispers, close to tears. You idiot! Who will find them? It's their own fault. Come on, get up, she replies irritably as she tries to pull him up on the rope that connects the two of them. The young man's legs give way and he slips, powerless, over the chasm. So, there's a bunch of stuff going on. She says, making our way by the full moon was your stupid idea. It's cloudy and pitch dark. Hysterical woman berates her exhausted friend. I mean, these could be the people we've already saved, but it also could be these two. And now we have to report to the police as soon as possible. If someone finds the bodies, we'll be done. He's in tears. She says, who'll find them? It's their own fault. She tries to pull him up the rope. Young man's legs give way and he slips over the chasm. So we could learn a little bit about the chasm. I don't know what you need to know. Maybe it's a very small chasm that he'll survive. Not likely. We can have her try to hold him up. I don't see how that's going to end out well for her. Should she cut the rope and let this guy die? That sounds like what might happen. Let me mention another thing that I find odd about this series. It describes us as sort of time travelers, right? We can go back, we can change fate. But it's weird that it often gives us the ability to change things that I don't see how we could change. Like, you would expect mechanically for it to be like, okay, you go back in time now. Do you want to like swap out this cup for this cup so they drink something different? Or do you want to hide this item so they never find it? Or drop a pack of a rope for them to find? But there are things that this game lets us do that I don't see how it just doesn't make sense. Like, we're not gods. How do we ensure that the rope breaks, but that he's able to grab hold of a root? Like, that's a weird choice of this game to let us make these decisions that don't make sense how we have control of that. I don't see how she can hold this guy up. But what we don't know is if in real life they both died here because they both got pulled over the edge. But I guess if they both got pulled over the edge and both died, B would save the woman, but not the man. But why not go for C? That seems to be good for both of them. Breaks the rope so they're separated, so the woman survives, and then the man grabs hold of a root so he has a chance. So I think we should do C. So 12C makes the most sense to me, but keeps them out of the chasm. But I don't know. Do we want these two to survive? It sounds like they've done something bad, but maybe we want them to survive but then get caught. All right, well, here's 12C. The rope breaks, the man is able to grab hold. The young man falls a few yards into the crevasse. With the last of his strength, he grabs hold of a root. He realizes bottom ground is not far away. All right, so it wasn't that deep. Turn person G to the safe side. Okay, so it looks like we are right that this is the guy who fell over. He just saved him. And this is his friend now, so the two of them know something about these bodies that they're going to be blamed for. I'm going to put my time clock here. We didn't need to look at the chasm. That's good use of time. We're doing very well in this game. These two are up to something no good, though. We don't know what. All right, I guess we'll back up from here. Okay, here's the crevasse. This is a day before that scene we just saw. The three inexperienced climbers are exhausted as they make their way along a crevasse. The continuing hunger gnaws at them. Keep close together, everyone, the woman calls from the front. As you ask so kindly, I would be happy to keep close with you, replies the middle-aged man behind her in a vulgar tone. If we survive, I'll get us the most expensive hotel room in Kathmandu just for the two of us. He grins at the young man behind him. The woman remembers his words about Vietnam on the plane while the young blonde simmers inside. Three inexperienced climbers. So this seems like maybe these are three separate people from these two we just saw. Because the middle-aged man behind her, so it's a woman, three inexperienced climbers, a woman in the lead. Then there's a middle-aged man behind her. So this one or this one. And he says, if we survive, I'll get us the most expensive hotel room just for the two of us. Then he smiles at the young man behind him. Who is the young man behind him? While the young blonde simmers inside. Okay, so three of them. So the young blonde has to be the guy that's behind them. Okay, I'm wondering now if it's not like this. These are the three. Or these three. So if she's in the lead, and then he's behind her, or him, and then the blonde is behind him. Because it says there's a woman up front, there's a middle-aged man behind her, woman up front, middle-aged man, and then a young blonde. simmers inside, angry because these two are friends. So one of these is the rich person. Okay, but either way, she remembers his words about Vietnam. Sounds like maybe this guy is Vietnamese. I mean, I could believe that. But then, what can we ensure? The woman and the middle-aged man are close together, or the two men are close together, or that the woman slips. Okay, so here's my suggestion for thinking about this. We know on the next day, if we're right about who these people are, then we know by the next day, it's just the man and the woman. So if by the next day, let me pay for this card here. If by the next day, the middle-aged man has died and these two are alone, how could we, if we put the middle-aged man close together, then won't the middle-aged man kill off the other man or the woman? Feels like A or B both gets someone else killed with him. Or maybe she saves him. Woman slips. Would we really want to cause her to slip? That's very strange. This is a strange card. Keep close. And he says, I'd be happy to keep close. The woman remembers his words about Vietnam. How do we fix this? I feel like if we put the two men together, the blonde guy's gonna kill this man. I'm not sure putting him with the woman helps. If she slips, that's bad. All right, I'm gonna keep him with the woman. A. Really don't quite understand this. Okay. If he's with the man, that's dangerous, but the man might kill him. But if he's with the woman, maybe that's better for him. When the man slips behind her, loathing for him prevents her from doing anything. With a vacant stare, she watches the odious arms dealer fall. A world without him and his weapons is a better world. Okay. So this is the boss. Now I think it's Amanda's boss. All right, so that was the wrong thing. I wonder if the blonde now wasn't Amanda Seeving, because this is the man she's having the affair with. When the man slipped behind her, well, we did guess that they might slip. Does that mean this is the woman who's the friend? I wonder if this is her son. Hmm. She was leading it. She remembers the words about Vietnam on the plane. All right, let's go to the airplane. We've only got 3 more places to look at. All right, we're going to go here. And we've got 3 more time arts. We need to start using our times now every move we go. All right, let's find out what he said about Vietnam on the airplane. Group of strangers are traveling by plane for a mountain expedition in Nepal. An older man with a whiskey and cigar is berated by the woman in the row behind him. Hey, Grandpa, are you swimming in money to afford a watch like that? Sure, dollface. My weapons are keeping things very tidy in Vietnam. Then he turns back and winks at the person next to him, who is clearly overheard and is looking at him stunned. When the man returns to his newspaper, the woman behind him mutters, "Such an idiot. I'd like to push him out of the plane." All right, so this would have been a clue not to have them hang out next to each other. Okay, so we can ensure the person next to him rips the newspaper from his hands and growls, "I'll kill you." Or it dawns on the man who's sitting next to him. Or C, the person next to the man is silent. Okay, well, such an idiot. We know that is mirrors the language used by this person, the woman. We've already gotten this man killed, so we do want to save this man. The woman in the row behind him says, "Hey, Grandpa." So maybe that's this woman. And he says, "My weapons are keeping things running." Let's assume that this guy's the weapons dealer that she was having an affair with in the beginning. So he winks at the person next to him who's overheard and is looking at him stunned. Why is she stunned? Because she had an affair with him 20 years ago. I think that's what's happened here. The woman behind him mutters, "Such an idiot, I'd like to push him out of the plane." That's this woman here. Okay, so we can have him realize that sitting next to him is the woman that he had an affair with 24 years ago, who he convinced to have an abortion. Or we can have her grab the newspaper and says, "I'll kill you." It makes sense that we would have him realize who she is. Then maybe he wouldn't go on an expedition with her. Or maybe he would. We're not going to have her quiet, because I think that's what must have happened in this story originally. He didn't realize who she was. It feels like B is most likely to change things. Once he realizes who she is, he'll treat her completely differently. So I'm going to pick B. However, before I do, we only have 3 clues left. So we need to start using them. I don't think we need the stun thing, because I think we figured out why she's stunned. But we could go to one of these other places we've already looked at. Is looking at him stunned. What if she's stunned not because she recognizes him, but because of the newspaper? All right, I'm going to read the stun thing. I think it's just going to be because she recognizes that he's the boss that she had an affair with. The woman in her mid-40s can't believe that the man looked at her and didn't recognize her. Anger rises up in her for what he did to her. All right, so we were right about that. But the only reason we did that is because we have an abundance of these cards. Although that might be a mistake because we might get another time card back. So maybe I shouldn't have spent it. All right, I'm going to have him recognize her, B. So 3B. Although if she says, I'll kill you, then... If she says, I'll kill you, surely he won't go, it'll be the same. But she's going to say why, it'll lead to B. And he'll realize she doesn't like him. All right, but I'm a little... I'm nervous that that'll be too subtle. Or that he won't figure out who she is. Better to have him realize it. What? Ugh. That's the worst. I should have put A. We could have saved him with A. Ah, that's unfortunate. Well, if anyone's gonna die here, it's the arms dealer. It's not the worst outcome in the world, but we should have put A. C is gonna be nothing happens, and A is gonna be he realizes she doesn't like him. Oh, that's too bad. All right, well, it is what it is. All right. Well, he's not going to get saved. He's dead. But we still got 2 more people to save. Now, can we be logical about this? We know this woman must have died. We don't know when they died. I'm curious about this notebook, so I'm going to go here so that we can use our clue for that. So here they are still prepping. As the young man enters the stable and makes his way to his pack animal, the shadow of a small figure quickly scurries outside. The man stows his camera equipment and then notices that the pack belonging to the famous mountain guide is open. He plans on creating a photo documentary of the man, as he was a friend of his late father and his idol. He thinks about telling him about it when he notices a notebook that has fallen to the ground. He picks it up and scans a few lines and is startled. All right, well, we're going to use our clue to read about the notebook. The author writes he has been in pain for years and his fading fame has affected him emotionally. Once a celebrated mountaineer, he is now only a shadow of his former self. A peaceful death at the peak would be a fitting end. Oh, he's got suicidal ideation. All right, now how can we fix that? We can steal the book to write a story, steal the prescription from the pack, or the owner of the bag enters the stable and accuses the young man of theft. So what? This guy's going to commit suicide with some prescription? How does he's not going to have a prescription to kill himself. What will he have, though? I don't know if we can save this guy from killing himself just by taking his prescription. Fading fame. A peaceful death at the peak would be a fitting end. Okay, he wants a peaceful death. He's got some prescription for painkillers. He's going to OD on them and die at the peak. Fine. We take his prescription. He can't do it. He's not. I was going to say he'll just jump off, but he doesn't want to jump off. He wants a peaceful death. Okay, so we're just going to steal his prescription, B. But what if it's not for anything that would kill him? But these won't help us. So B, surely. All right, this is going to stop him from suicide. The drugs would have served for a peaceful suicide at the summit. The turn person F to the safe side. Okay, well, we were right. It is this guy, the old mountaineer. We've saved him from death. So the only people we haven't saved are just two people. This guy, we had our chance to save, and we blew it. But he's the arms dealer. So that's not the end of the world. And that took our time. All right, so this is our last place to go. We only have one more time and one more clue. 3 remaining places. However, if we save anyone that we've already saved, we'll get to go again. Let me read this last card, though, because one of these people survived. Making the way by the full moon was your stupid idea. We have to report to the police as soon as possible. If someone finds the bodies, will be done. You idiot, who will find them? It's their own fault. She tries to pull them up. They're the old friends. The rope breaks. The young man falls. Grabs hold. And we saved him. So this is the young man we saved. Who is the woman he's with? It's not our blonde, because our blonde was... just the two of us. The blonde is mad. So the blonde was at the back. So she must have been in the lead. So this guy fell on the crevasse but didn't die. One of these people is presumed dead but didn't really die. Call me Alex. I wonder if that's this person. But if she's alive here, I mean, clearly she's the woman and our guy here and another blonde, which we think is her. So these two women, I think, are alive at the end. But if we can save her from being considered dead, then maybe she can't go on the run. But she seems like she's alive here. We can't, like, there's no, what's the point? Oh, maybe we have to find the event that made people think she's dead. Well-heeled and Finn. Oh, look, here's Finn and here's Finn. I think this is going to be her son. And these are the two at the end. He fell into the crevasse, but he survived it. So that might be our Alex person. He's presumably dead. I guess if we have one more place to go, I'm going to go to the place right before the peak. 14 days ago. I'm going to spend our last time card. The dwindling group is breathing heavily as they fight through the icy wind. The Nepalese at the head of the group swears in his own language. They're stubborn like mules and don't even pay heed to Theo's last wishes. If I lose them, I will be blamed again as Kamba. Further back, the well-heeled man wheezes as the blonde woman behind him, as she constantly scans the landscape through her lens. The Irishman blames himself. Nonsense. Theo was a depressed nutcase. The woman behind him suddenly stops and then furiously hisses at him. Be silent now, or forever. Then, with the possessed gaze, she points her camera at a rare snow leopard. If the pack mules smell the leopard, it sounds like that could cause a panic and that could lead to death. So I don't think we want C. And if she takes a prize-worthy photo, that doesn't help us because we already know she's going to survive. That's not going to change the course of this expedition. This is the arms dealer. If he realizes her again, is he going to have the same reaction before? Or if we let him realize her now will he realize, oh, I really have to stay away from her because she could get me killed. Be silent now or forever. It sounds like it'd be better. This is our second chance to save this guy. But then we won't save her. But I don't see how we can save her with our decision here. However, I'm not going to use our last clue because I don't think it helps us. All right, I'm going to try this again. This is how we failed this to save this rich guy last time. But I'm going to give him a second chance to recognize that this woman is no good and is going to kill him. So I'm going to give him B. In a panic, this time he realizes it's her and maybe he'll stay away from her. Again. What on earth? Suddenly, it's all clear to the American. This can't be a coincidence. She definitely wants to take revenge on him. His panic drives him to act with lightning speed. He lets out a warning call, throws himself at her as if to protect her, and drops her into the abyss. So basically, he realized who she was, and he killed her rather than saving himself. But we already saved her once, so she's safe. That's very odd. All right, well, that's the end of our cards. We saved everyone except this guy and this girl. And I think this is the guy who's actually alive at the end of our normal story. But because he's not presumed dead, I wonder if that's not a good thing. This woman, we didn't figure out how to save her. All right, let's read what happens now. Strange game. Long after nightfall over the mountains, a small group of mountaineers drag themselves into a little shepherd village with a final push. The few illuminated windows signal they've made it. The relief and joy of having survived has drained their last reserves of strength. They break down. The barking dogs lure the watchful villagers out of their huts. They quickly realize once again amateur mountaineers have overestimated their abilities. How many of them will survive this adventure? Continue reading on the next card. After your last jump in time, your changes to the past all take place simultaneously, and you hope that you are able to undo the tragic deaths and save enough people. As soon as you've used all of your time cards, you count the number of people saved. Person B was not actually killed. If that person is still in front of you, turn it over to the save side and include them in your count. So actually, this is the one person we couldn't save. She escaped without, and people thought she was dead. So we count her as being saved. So actually, the only person we didn't save is the rich arms dealer. That's not the worst outcome. I feel like we're going to get a pretty good score. Okay. Now, you saved 0, no comment. How many did we save? We saved 6. Wow, you have deciphered the story well and saved all but one person. All right, so we did very well. If you want to know the original story, continue reading. If you are unable to prevent the tragic deaths by rescuing enough people and want to try again, you must first resort the cards. Take a break, okay? Let's hear what really happened originally. The aging mountaineering star, Theo Wallner, organized a climbing expedition to a that's this guy, Theo. Organized a climbing expedition to a 20,000-foot peak in the Himalayas. Most of the group were amateur climbers. Early on, the young English flower child, Elizabeth Ray, and the older arms magnate, Ronald, okay, he died, out of falling out on the plane to Kathmandu. By chance, seated next to Taylor was Australian Amanda Bell. Vale. Although he didn't recognize her at the time, she recognized him from a long ago affair, but decided to keep it secret. He had ruined her life by pressuring her into having an abortion that left her barren. Shortly before setting out from Kathmandu, the young Irishman, Finn McMullen, surprised the Sherpa, Sonam, In the pack animal stall, as he was rummaging through Mountain Guide Theo's packs, Sonam believed Theo owed him money from a previous climbing tour when he noticed Finney fled, dropping Theo's diary to the ground. Finn found Theo's diary. Theo was his idol. He was planning to create a photo documentary about him, but when he scanned through Theo's diary, he was shocked to discover that Theo, unable to bear his declining strength and fame, was planning to commit suicide on the expedition by overdosing on his medications. Chong Lian, a Chinese biologist in her late 30s, reached her physical limits in the first few days of the climb when she picked up a holy Manai stone. Sonam became upset. Okay, he got upset at her. He had lost a prior climbing expedition due to an accident in the mountains, and he believed that was due to angry spirits. Lian was searching for a rare poisonous plant for an ancient Chinese medicine recipe. By the time she found the plant, she had gone without her snow goggles for too long. She also realized she had reached her physical limits and was falling ill. The following day, Lian was plagued by a violent fever and could hardly see due to snow blindness. Afraid she would not survive the coming night, she searched through her containers of collected herbs for one that would help reduce her fever. Knowing she also had a poisonous herb in the containers, she asked her teammate Ray for help. Let's see how that worked. Teammate Ray, who's not... Oh, Raymond, I say that. Oh, no, Ronald. I don't know who her teammate is. Ray chose due to miscommunication and the fact that she was high, or Ray was high, maybe it should say. Yeah, she was high. Ray chose the container with the poisonous herb. Lian died from it. The group assumed Lian died from her fever and continued their journey in dismay. After a sudden cold snap, Theo had to admit to himself and the group that the climb should be abandoned. This supposed weakness was another confirmation of his waning abilities. When Ronald reproached him for being weak, it pushed him over the edge, and he ended his life with a drug overdose that night. Against Sonam's objections, the group all agreed they wanted to continue their climb without Theo. Ronald never believed in giving up on anything, and his cancer wouldn't allow him a second opportunity. Ray wanted to pursue freedom and a bigger high. Which one is Ray? Is Ray just not on our list? Ray wanted to pursue freedom and a bigger high. Finn was smitten with Ray and didn't want to lose her. Is Ray this woman, Elizabeth? It's kind of weird. Amanda once received a momentous photo award for her pictures she didn't take. Pictures she didn't take, because they were her friends' photos. Wanted to prove she had the right to be an award-winning photographer, therefore was absolutely set on photographing the rare snow leopard. Sonam reluctantly agreed to lead them as he didn't want to lose a second expedition. When Amanda finally spotted her snow leopard and Ronald's unending chatter threatened her goal in life a second time, she silenced him with a death threat. Ronald then recognized who she was and was afraid she would seek revenge. In a panic, he pretended to try to stop her from falling and pushed her over. So we recreated what really happened in the main timeline. At the peak, Sonam struggled with his fate. His family rejected him because they superstitiously blamed him for the deaths of the people who had died around him. As this was his second expedition with fatalities, he begged for a divine sign. When none was forthcoming, he committed suicide. My God, this is a dark story. Situation worsened for the 3 remaining climbers while descending through a crevasse due to hunger, cold, and many deaths. When Ronald, the arms magnate, made sexual overtones to the hippie Ray. Okay, so Elizabeth is Elizabeth Ray. We were right. Okay. And remember, we said that was the three of them who were at the end climbing. Her lover Finn, knowing that Ray, sorry, it was this guy was part of this group here. He got upset. Knowing that Ray hated the American for his arms dealing during Vietnam, as well as his disgusting manner, went crazy and pushed him into the abyss. Finn later suffered remorse for Ronald's murder, wanted to turn himself into the police. Ray didn't want any part of it, as Finn was only a quick fling for her. That night, when Finn slipped and fell hanging over a chasm, Ray cut the rope and let him fall, just like what we chose to recreate. On the one hand, she was afraid of being dragged down with him, and on the other hand, she didn't want to face the police. As the sole survivor, Ray feared they would search for her and then blame her for the tragedy. She fled to the underground hippie mecca in Goa, India, to disappear. On the train, she read that she was also believed to be dead. Relieved, she arrived in Goa to start a new life there under her newly assumed name, Alex. Find additional details about the decision for all the cards here. So what we learned is that at that website, they walk you through the more interesting decisions, how you could have gotten a better answer. Okay, well, I don't know how I feel about this game still. We had a very good outcome. There was a bit of a mystery to put together, figuring out who was who. We did pretty well. I don't mind. I think the part that's enjoyable about this game is it's sort of just a breezy, fast 2 hours. We read this story, and it is fun, undeniably fun to have the story put together in these little snippets out of order. And it's entertaining to try to figure out the right things to do. But it feels a little frustrating that these decisions just don't feel like they can be made logically. It's tempting to think that if you could figure out the right order to do them, you'd have the information to make the right decisions. I wonder, what if you modified the rules of this game? And what if, instead of reading the answer every time, like we go here, we pick A, B, or C, then we read the answer. What if you play the game, you put your choice here, but you don't reveal it. So you play the whole game according to the rules, but you put your choices on the cards, but you don't turn them over. And then when you run out of time, then you're allowed to start turning over cards. So at this point, you've seen 9 of the 13 cards, or 10 of the 13 cards, whatever. You've made your choices. And then what if at the end, now you're allowed to, now you do your clues, any 4 clues you want. And then you're allowed to change your answers to a couple before you reveal them. Maybe that would make it too much maintenance, but I just feel like there might be some more interesting deduction to be had if you don't have to make your final choices until you see all the storyline. I feel like maybe then it would be more of a proper deduction game. Like you're like, okay, now we've seen most of the story. Now can we figure out what to do at these different times? These undo games are quick enough and cheap and breezy enough that I'd be inclined to try playing this with some house rules next time. I think we should try that. I think next time we play this, I have a couple more undo boxes coming. I can see how some people would hate this system, but I don't mind it. It's fun. The story is fun enough. This is a very mean, harsh adult story here, but anyway, I think we're going to try playing another undo box or two and try to come up with our own house rules and see how it goes. All right, well, thanks for joining me. Only Asara was here to actually participate, but a couple more people in the background here on YouTube. That's fine. Remember, on Thursday, we have our big, serious game session of War Story Occupied France. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.